This meeting of the Senate Judiciary Committee will come to order. I thank all those in attendance. I want to preface my remarks by saying that I've been in Congress for a few years. Senator Graham has as well. If you do not believe this is an idea whose time has come, take a look at the turnout here. Today, the Senate Judiciary Committee will continue its work on an issue on the mind of most American families: how to keep our kids safe from sexual exploitation and harm in the internet age. Online child sexual exploitation includes the use of online platforms to target and groom children, and the production and endless distribution of child sexual abuse material, CSAM, which can haunt victims for their entire lives and in some cases take their lives. Everyone here will agree this conduct is abhorrent. I'd like to turn to a brief video to hear directly from the victims, the survivors, about the impact these crimes have had on them.
I was sexually exploited on Facebook.
I was sexually exploited on Instagram.
I was sexually exploited on X.
This is my daughter, Olivia.
This is our son, Matthew.
Look at how beautiful Miriam is.
My son Riley died from suicide after being sexually exploited on Facebook.
The child that gets exploited is never the same ever again.
I reported this issue numerous times, and it took over a decade before anyone helped me.
You might be able to tell that I am using a green screen. Why is that? In the internet world, my past abusers can contact me. Fans of my abuse material as a child can find me and contact me.
As a 17-year-old child, I had to write a victim impact statement after being extorted for 4 consecutive years. While I was strong enough to resist sending him any more pictures, there were dozens more who were not.
We got a phone call to find out that my son was in his room and was suicidal. He was only 13 years old at the time. Him and a friend had been exploited online and trafficked, and my son reached out to Twitter, or now X. His response was, "Thank you for reaching out. We reviewed the content and we did not find a violation of our policies. So no action will be taken at this time."
How many more kids like Matthew?
Like Olivia.
Like Riley.
How many more kids will suffer and die because of social media?
Big tech failed to protect my child from sexual exploitation.
Big tech failed to protect me from online sexual exploitation.
And we need Congress to do something for our children and protect them.
It's not too late. It's not too late to do something about it.
Online child sexual exploitation is a crisis in America. In 2013, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, known as NCMEC, received approximately 1,380 cyber tips per day. By 2023, just 10 years later, the number of cyber tips has risen to 100,000 reports a day. That's 100,000 daily reports of child sexual abuse material, also known as CSAM. In recent years, we've also seen an explosion in the so-called financial sextortion, in which a predator uses a fake social media account to trick a minor into sending explicit photos or videos, then threatens to release them unless the victim sends money. In 2021, NCMEC received a total of 139 reports of sextortion, 2021. In 2023, through the end of October alone, this number skyrocketed to more than 22,000. More than a dozen children have died by suicide after becoming victims of this crime. This disturbing growth in child sexual exploitation is driven by one thing: changes in technology. In 1996, the world's best-selling cell phone was the Motorola StarTAC. While groundbreaking at the time, the clamshell-style cell phone wasn't much different from a traditional phone. It allowed users to make and receive calls and even receive text messages, but that was about it. Fast forward to today. Smartphones are in the pockets of seemingly every man, woman, and teenager on the planet. Like the StarTAC today, today's smartphones allow users to make and receive calls and text, but they can also take photos and videos, support live streaming, and offer countless apps. With the touch of your finger, That smartphone that can entertain and inform you can become a back alley where the lives of your children are damaged and destroyed. These apps have changed the ways we live, work, and play. But as investigations have detailed, social media and messaging apps have also given predators powerful new tools to sexually exploit children. Your carefully crafted algorithms can be more powerful force on the lives of our children than even the most best-intentioned parent. Discord has been used to groom, abduct, and abuse children. Meta's Instagram helped connect and promote a network of pedophiles. Snapchat's disappearing messages have been co-opted by criminals who financially extort young victims. TikTok has become a, quote, platform of choice for predators to access, engage, and groom children for abuse. And the prevalence of CSAM on X has grown as the company has gutted its trust and safety workforce. Today, we'll hear from the CEOs of those companies. They are not only the tech companies that have contributed to this crisis, they are responsible for many of the dangers our children face online. Their design choices, their failures to adequately invest in trust and safety, their constant pursuit of engagement and profit over basic safety have all put our kids and grandkids at risk. Coincidentally, several of these companies implemented common sense child safety improvements within the last week, days before their CEOs would have to justify their lack of action before this committee. But the tech industry alone is not to blame for the situation we're in. Those of us in Congress need to look in the mirror. In 1996, the same year the Motorola StarTAC was flying off shelves, and years before social media went mainstream, we passed Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. This law immunized the then fledgling internet platforms from liability for user-generated content. Interesting, only one other industry in America has an immunity from civil liability. We'll leave that for another day. For the past 30 years, Section 230 has remained largely unchanged, allowing big tech to grow into the most profitable industry in the history of capitalism without fear of liability for unsafe practices. That has to change. Over the past year, this committee has unanimously reported 5 bills that would finally hold tech companies accountable for child sexual exploitation on their platforms. Unanimous. Take a look at the composition and membership of the Senate Judiciary Committee and imagine, if you will, there's anything we could agree on unanimously. These 5 bills were the object of agreement. One of these bills is by Stop CSAM Act. Critically, it would let victims sue online providers that promote or aid and abet online child sexual exploitation or that host or store CSAM. This stand against online child sexual exploitation is bipartisan and absolutely necessary. Let this hearing be a call to action that we need to get kids' online safety legislation to the President's desk. I now turn to the ranking member, Senator Graham.